Welcome back to another episode of Dungeon Hammer, brought to you by One Mind Syndicate. I am your host, Gershwan, and I'm here with my two co-hosts,
Docile Creature.
And the Sound Alchemist.
And today we're talking about the best feats in, not 40k, Dungeons and Dragons 5e. Now, before we get into feats, I have a bone to pick with Docile Creature, I guess, because you're really the only person that I direct my anger towards, because I know you could take it.
That's fair.
Raw and unfiltered.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I like it.
I think feats are kind of game-breaking in the sense that they really suck you out of the role-playing aspect of Dungeons & Dragons. They just, like, I've thought about that even with level-ups. Like, at the end of a session, when you ask your DM, oh, did we level up? And he says, yes, it's an awesome feeling because you're going to get better stats. But then at the same time, there's usually no narrative reason as to why you are leveling up or why you're getting these buffs. And I noticed that when I started running D&D as a DM, like I wanted to combine, or I wanted to say something narrative that would contribute to the level up, especially if like you are reaching, level, 3, when you start getting all those extra, like you get to choose your
class, subclass, or whatever.
Half the time the people who are playing they just see that as an option to choose, and I feel like the feats are the same thing. Whenever like you reach that 4th level, it's just like, oh, you get to pick a feat now. It's like, what is a feat? Well, you read the list, and it really takes you out of the role playing or the fantasy world, and it just becomes like it's a game. Like that's. And how have you, Docile Creature, like, have you tried to combat that at all, or have you seen that as a problem?
I definitely understand what you're saying, because sometimes, similar to subclasses, it's just like, oh, I have these powers now. Well, how did you get them? Well, they're just part of my character's level tree, so that's how I get it. It's kind of a difficult thing to combat because it is still a game, and you kind of got to walk the line of it's a game and also role-play experience. But you can try to narratively explain all of your level ups and all of your feats somehow. Mm-hmm. That's if you really wanted to try to mitigate that gaminess as much as you can. I think it's not necessarily a symptom of the game, just on how we've played it.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to... I mean, you kind of have to have your character thought out all the way in order to narratively
make it make sense.
Yeah, like have all your bases covered as you're leveling up. This is why I got this power narratively. This is how I got this feat narratively. This is how I got this spell narratively. Because wizards are kind of the same way. Mm-hmm. Every level you get like 2 spells. Yeah, it's like, how did you get these spells? We're in the middle of a dungeon. Yeah, that kind of thing. It's something that you kind of got to deal with with this type of game, I guess.
I think there is a missed opportunity though, and how would you guys feel with not connecting a feat to just a level up, or like just a level up, but actually an action? Because you know how like you can gain level up based on your experience, so each monster has an experience value. How badass would it be if like every accomplished session arc, one character gets a feat specifically geared towards like something that the party needs or wants?
That makes sense, because narratively you're explaining how they got something, but I feel like whoever gets that first will have a bonus right off the bat that the rest of the party won't. Yeah. Like if you're taking a whole session and you're focusing on how like the warlock finally saw eye to eye with his pact demon, for example, and that's why he has like more alertness, and he has like the alert feat, or that's why he knows more spells, because the demon is now giving him more power. But I feel like that's too centered on one player, where you're forgoing the rest of the party's I guess level up. Yeah. Or maybe you're postponing that for the next session, and now you have a party of different leveled characters, because narratively speaking you didn't have time to do this thing, or you couldn't do that thing for that player. So I could see that working, but at the same time it's also a slippery slope to tread on.
Because what I was thinking is like it would be really cool to run a session where you have a feat that the party knows they can get at like towards the end of the story arc, but that feat is not geared towards one specific person. Like everybody's going to want it, or everybody can be like, oh, cool, that sounds cool. But then that would mean that yes, you do get rid of feats just in general. Like you don't just get that. You get the what is it called? The 2+ to your stats.
The stat bonuses instead of the feat.
Yeah, well, you would still get a feat, but only one person gets a feat.
And then the rest just get stats.
Yeah, but not so you would completely break feats away from the level up. The level up itself would just be the.
Oh, so everybody would get the stat bonus.
They'll get the stat bonus, but the feats are just kind of like items.
Like the treasure. Like, okay, you finally beat 3 Manticores. Everybody is now has this feat.
Yeah, especially because like because sometimes you do think like, oh, but then that's just gonna make one character overpowered as opposed to the other one. But then you always have that fucking asshole who picks human and then has a feat right off the bat, and they're fine.
Right? That's like the reason to pick human. So here's my argument against kind of most of the feats aren't as
game breaking.
Not necessarily that, but they're not like far fetched. In how you would like athletic. If I'm a barbarian and I eventually get the athletic feat, it's not going to be a stretch for anybody. Like I work out, like I work on my strength. I'm more athletic now.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are kind of like that, like sharpshooter or stuff like that. Like you're just honing your skills over time,
right?
So that it's not super weird that you suddenly have this power because you kind of been working on it the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There are some that are kind of like weird, but yeah, I think most of them are probably something you could justify easily.
Yeah.
So I don't.
No, and yeah, I get what you're saying, and I think that sometimes it is a little easier to justify a feat than it is a level up bonus, like you were talking about with the wizard and just learning things in the dungeon. But it would be cool, like if you are a DM and you are running for a new session. Or a new party of people, it would be cool for you to like take that time in the beginning of the session after everybody has chosen their feats to say like, you have been in a bunch of bar fights now, so you get the whatever brawler feat or whatever.
Tavern brawler.
Yeah, you remember that time you picked a fight with the Lizardborn or whatever? Now you get this. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then go through each person.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I see what you're saying. That it isn't game breaking.
Right.
It is. You could just bend. Your thought to like,
and that's very interesting because Docile Creature and we had the same 2 spells like that are pretty much the best no matter what class or what type of character you're playing. So there seems to be 2 feats. I think I said spells last time, but there seems to be 2 feats that are just a little bit more overpowered, and those 2 feats I feel like they're not as easy to just say you get this for no reason at all.
Like, yeah, definitely. Because I guess we could just talk about the 2 feats that we decided was probably the top tier.
Which one do you want to start with, Docile?
I have a third one.
All right,
so if you guys want to take the first 2.
Well, let's do. Let's start with the one I think is the best, and that is the lucky feat.
Yep.
Like luck is something you don't just get. Like it just happens randomly.
Yeah.
But if you choose the lucky feat, then you can personally pick when you want to re-roll that dice or add that dice.
You get 3.
Yeah, you get 3 a day, and you can even have your opponents re-roll their dice.
Yeah.
Like, so
to me, that's not lucky. That's just like
that's
game break.
That's kind of how you got it. Well, I mean, you're rolling dice. That's the luck variant, and you're kind of manipulating the roll of the dice.
Because you could roll worse.
You can.
Yeah.
How's that lucky?
You still pick the best result.
Okay.
A lot of people ban this feat because it's like everybody would take it, and that would just be kind of lame because everybody gets 3 rerolls, and as a DM, your opponents can just reroll all of your dice. It's super powerful.
Yeah.
I personally think it's a little too far. I think even if like it was 1 a day, it would still be really good.
Yeah, I agree. Especially if you could stack it with the whole like Who Wants to Recap thing. What is that called?
Inspiration.
Especially if you can couple it with the inspiration. But I agree that lucky aspect is something very difficult to tie into your narrative. The only thing like I can think of is like mutant abilities. Like what's her name?
Domino.
Yeah, Domino. There you go. Or like the orcs, where like red things go faster, things like that.
And I might be wrong about this, but luck can like give you super advantage. Like if you have, because it just says you reroll one of the dice. So if you have advantage and you still fail, you can reroll again to have like super advantage. That's just like, I don't know, and you can do that 3 times a day.
Yeah, and I feel that also like breaks the flow of the game, where it's like you're everybody's waiting on that one dice roll, and it's like, oh no, I failed. Nope, I got lucky. Oh, I hit. Like, it's not as like, there's not that much like resting on a single die roll.
And in one in-game day, think of how many times you fail that badly. It's probably going to be around 3 times, or it's not going to be, or less. So it's like basically I never fail, or it's much less likely that I fail.
If you are allowing your players to have the lucky feat, and let's say you do have a party of people who just choose the lucky feat, do you think that gives you the privilege as a DM to just crank up the difficulty?
Oh yeah. Definitely.
So that's, I guess, one way to combat, like, if everybody wants to jump on that lucky.
Especially if, like, there's only one player that chooses lucky, and, like, they know, like, okay, this is, like, the best thing you could pick.
Yeah.
Then it's like, all right, you're going to play like that, then I'm going to throw,
Yeah, even though that is tough, because then it is one of those situations where, like, you can't fudge dice rolls because the feat is specifically for dice rolls. So, like, fudging, if you have the lucky feat and you force your DM to reroll, it's like, nah, I still hit you. It's like, no. Then you're kind of ruining the feat.
Right.
But again, the feat is kind of broken, so it's tough. Have you guys banned the feat ability?
Yeah. For the campaign I'm running, I said no lucky feat.
Same.
And they're like, oh no, we'll just use it once a day. Nope, that's still too powerful.
Yeah, I agree. Same. If my players came up to me with like a super good reason and like a awesome character build that involved the lucky feat, I might consider it. But if it's just like, oh, this is a really good feat,
I'll give you a handy under the table.
I mean, you can have lucky feet right now if you want.
Oh, I'm always lucky.
In life.
Yep.
Yeah. And what is the other feat that's in the top tier?
Magic Initiate.
Yep.
And what does Magic Initiate do?
Basically, anybody gets a little taste of spellcasting. You get to pick any spellcaster's spell list, pretty much, and you get 2 cantrips and then 1 first level spell that you can cast once a day.
Right. So the cantrips doesn't matter; they're just regular cantrips. But the spell, I feel like whenever I pick this feat, I always pick the first level spell first, and then I go to the cantrips.
Why?
Because that spell you could only cast once. So you want to make sure it's something that you want to synergize with, or maybe it's like, I really want Magic Missile, because that's always going to hit.
Yeah.
So you go with that, and then cantrips are just like the sprinkles and the cherry on top.
I love that Sunday. That doesn't seem as OP as Lucky, honestly.
It's not overpowered. It's just good because any class can have a little taste of magic. And and one of the reasons I really like it is Find Familiar. Any character, any character can have a cool little pet on their shoulder or whatever at level 4 or level 1 if you're human master race. And
we can't get mad because we're part of it.
Exactly. But yeah, and that's just my favorite way to use it. But there's so many different ways.
Yeah.
So many good first level spells in all the spell trees. If you wanted a little bit of healing, if you wanted a little taste of like, because there's a lot of classes and a lot of ways you can build things, but they don't cover all the archetypes.
Right.
And if you wanted to make like a monk that's more druidy, you can either pick a monk and give him take the Magic Initiate and take some druidy spells to give him more nature-y feel, or stuff like that. Give the rogue a little magic at level 4 or whatever. If you don't want to go full into the Arcane Trickster, anybody can take it. All the classes can take it, and just give them a little taste of magic if they don't have it, or even if I found like a wizard and I want to have some healing spells, or a healing spell, I guess. I can dip into Cleric or whatever.
Right.
It still uses that class's ability score so if you were taking Cleric spells, you'd have to use Wisdom for your spells. Wizards would use Intelligence and stuff like that. So you'd have to kind of have decent stats in whatever you're trying to pick. But yeah, It's just anybody can use it, and that's why I think it's really good.
Right, and it covers a lot of bases, not just like thinking like how am I going to do the most damage, but like narratively speaking, because I know that's what I did when we were playing Gershwin's campaign. We were acolytes of the church, so to kind of make my monk more, I guess, fit in with that aesthetic, I gave her like bless and guidance. So like before battle, like we'd say a prayer, and that'd be like your guys' D4s that you can add to your ability scores and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So narratively speaking, it fit with the aesthetic instead of just choosing, oh, my character lacks this, so let me kind of fill the gap with that.
So it's easier. Yeah. I see that.
Yeah, if you don't want to play a cleric, but you still want to play someone that is part of a holy organization,
right,
it's perfect for that. Just get a little bit of magic.
Yeah. And I would just blast, because that's the best cantrip.
Yeah.
So pick up the Magic Initiate, and you got one of the best cantrips in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you choose, Docile Creature?
I've heard a lot of people complain about this spell, and this feat, and I kind of get it, but I don't think it's that bad. And it's what is it? Sharpshooter. It's more niche than the other two because you kind of have to use long range weapons. And I can kind of fold Great Weapon Master in with this as well, because it's kind of the same thing for two-handed melee weapons, but the other benefit is different. For example, the Sharpshooter they basically ignore disadvantage with the long range. Mm-hmm. So basically their maximum range they can shoot without disadvantage, and they ignore half and 3/4 cover.
That's really good.
It's very good.
Yeah.
But the best part is for making an attack, you take a -5 to hit for +10 to damage. And Great Weapon Master is the same kind of thing. It's something that if you build your character right, you can do every attack and reliably get 10 damage. Mm-hmm. Especially for Great Weapon Master, there's builds with like Barbarian, and I love Barbarians. Since you have advantage you can have advantage on every attack, it mitigates the -5 so that you're pretty much getting 10 damage every time. And Sharpshooters, you can do similar things with the archery fighting style. It gets you +2 and magic weapons and stuff like that. It's just it can be annoying because those characters put out a butt ton of damage just from this feat, basically. Like, I don't think it's not as wide. It doesn't hit a lot of the classes or anything like that, but mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of people talk about maybe banning Sharpshooter. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've run into any problems that would want me to ban it that badly, but
yeah, from your description though, it does seem like it does fit a certain type of player, and that is like the min-maxer
for sure.
So like the Ricks of the world. I don't think he's listening, but yeah, like I understand, or I would understand why a DM would want to ban it, because those types of people aren't even really appreciated in a role playing game, right? So like running a combat with that feat would be troublesome for a DM.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to like run scenarios in my head, and it's like, yeah, that kind of sucks. Like if you're the DM and you get your character in a position where you have cover and you're like super far away, and like the Sharpshooter hits you like bullseye,
mm-hmm. +10 damage,
like
crap ton of damage.
But at the same time, it's like, okay, this guy is like just like narratively speaking, it sounds really badass. Like you're Legolas. Like
yes.
You can hit an elephant's eyeball from like miles away while in combat.
And that's the reason why I really love feats, is because you can what the base classes don't give you can get from feats. Mm-hmm. You can kind of up your game or give you more of a superhero-ish vibe from the feats.
And you don't just get a feat once and that's it. You get it multiple times, potentially.
Yeah. And also, we got to keep in mind that feats are an optional rule that your DM might choose not to use. Mm-hmm. So, just because we say these feats are awesome doesn't mean that you as a listener can actually use them. Make mm-hmm. sure you talk to your DM and make sure that they're actually using these feats. But most people use them.
Or don't, and just use them, and then later on, I didn't know we weren't supposed to use this feat. Would you guys always choose a feat over the boost?
I have up until recently.
Why?
Because I always thought that the plus 2 or +1 to 2 different things wasn't that big of a deal. And now I'm seeing that, it's a pretty big deal.
Especially if you choose the right one, right?
Exactly.
It affects so many stats.
Yeah, I had the same thing. My first few characters, I just took feats every 4 levels, and plus I played a human, so I got one at level 1. But now it's like the +2s are so good.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really hard to pass those
+2 over feats. Even, well, no, I'm not even going to say even lucky. No.
Yeah,
I still think
probably,
lucky's way better than just getting a +2.
Mm-hmm. But then I guess it depends on what type of player you are or you want to be. If you know you're going to be playing like short sessions, maybe having a feat would be a little bit more fun.
Right.
Whereas if you know you're going to be playing a game for years, and you really build up the character, like maybe the bonuses would be better. Also, like if you're more of a narrative player, it seems like feats make more sense.
Yeah, it just helps kind of like make your character fit your vision a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like there's like the Mage Slayer feat. There's a lot of really cool like Sentinel, Polearm Master. Yeah. Really cool feats that can really make your character what you want it to be that you don't get from the classes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As a DM, I do think though that like what we were talking about in the beginning, you should when that 4th level does come, you should try to invest like at least a part of the session towards feats in game. And being like, you discover that you can, do your sharpshooting abilities.
Yeah.
And then really, like, talk up the player. Because, like, the whole thing about being a DM is, like, trying to make your characters feel like heroes. Like, what they're supposed to be. So I think, like, really taking that time within a session and introducing that would be cool.
Yeah, and then that same sentiment can be put towards if you learn new skills, new spells, new class abilities. Just try to make it more narrative and natural rather than just a gamey experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would make you a really cool badass DM.
Do you ever feel like it's okay or even a thing to take away a feat? Or is it once you've gotten it, you get it, you it's yours, like this is your knowledge, you've learned this, you can't forget it?
I think it would be really badass because feats are something that you wouldn't want to get rid of. Because when I was DMing, one of the problems that I had with one of the players is like it didn't really matter if like I knocked him out because somebody would just run up and like revive him, and he kind of knew in the back of his head that it's like, well, he's not gonna kill me. But taking away a feat, that's way different than killing someone. I think more players would be scared of getting a feat taken away than dying. And I think I heard this from like WebDM or something, but like that is like another tool in a DM's pocket to be like, yeah, I'm gonna hit your stats, not so much your health, but your stats.
Yeah, because 5th edition is very like difficult to die.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so you're dead, you got to roll death saves. So you do come back. Maybe you got hit in the head in a certain way where now you don't recall how to shoot so sharply, and you lose the sharpshooter.
So I think that's definitely a thing you can do, but it's definitely it's more feel bad to take something away that they already have. Like it's gonna make your players feel like crap.
Then don't
die. To permanently take things away.
Mm.
I think temporary takeaways would be less of a hard thing. Like, I've been in a situation where other people have taken, like DMs have taken things away from players, and it's never good when like you have something and then it's just gone permanently. It just feels bad as a player to be in that situation.
Yeah.
So,
my advice though would be to do some type of like take away the feat, but then put it in a reachable place for the player who took it away.
Yeah.
Kind of like Beauty and the Beast, where like the dude ends up getting hexed by the witch, and now that rose represents his humanity. So that rose can represent your lucky feat that was not taken away, and you're trying to fight for it, but you have to go into the dungeon in order to get it. I think using it that way would be kind of fun.
Yeah,
that was a very good Disney.
We're trying to get sponsored, man.
Disney sponsor us.
Disney sponsor, yeah. That's very deep.
Yeah.
I never saw the rose as his humanity.
Yeah, I think that's what they say in the beginning of the movie.
I was like 4 when I watched it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, me too. I was like, hexed by a witch? Sure, I don't know.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good D&D story. Session right there.
We should do a session just like
based on Disney?
Yeah, possible sessions based on Disney characters. Because I wanted to do that like as a standalone thing, but we should do that as a podcast.
Yeah, I want to be Clogsworth.
Which one's that one?
Wait, Clogsworth?
Yeah.
Who's that?
The clock in Beauty and the Beast.
Isn't that Cogsworth?
It would make more sense as cogs.
No, because I thought like he spoke like he was all clogged up. That was his name.
Rizzy's like a pair of wooden shoes.
He's an interesting character. I like the teacup.
I think it'd be really like confusing if somebody was Sebastian and Lumiere, because to me they're almost the same thing.
I like how we said the whole Disney franchise, and you're picking like the minor characters from Beauty and the Beast.
I said Sebastian, the crab from Little Mermaid.
Oh, they're not the same.
They're very similar in my eyes.
Huh.
But you saw it when you were 4, so...
Mm-hmm. Everybody was the Clogsworth in my mind.
Clogsworth.
But yeah, those are the feats that we would choose. If you guys have suggestions as to what other feats or what other combinations you guys have created, please comment down in the comment section below. Yeah, give us your thoughts on just feats in general. Whether you take them or not, please try to convince these guys that the lucky feat is something that all players should have. Because it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
It's awful.
If you guys also have suggestions for other topics of Dungeons and Dragons, please let us know. Subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends. And we appreciate you listening, guys. This was Gershwan.
Docile Creature.
And the Sound Alchemist. And we are out of here.
Always used to put my freedom first, and then